Hello and welcome to this edition of the Audio Spotlight. I'm Tyler Rowland, and it's been a while since we've had the audio format, but it's good to be back on it. And with me is a guest from Covington Catholic, somebody that has been a star in many different facets of the game, and of course, especially a big part of the football team that probably will forever go down in history, Tate Kruer. He led that team in tackles and is also an important part of the basketball team.
But the biggest stat is that Tate scored a 36 on his ACT, a perfect score. And Tate, talk about what that means to you and maybe what advice you give somebody in the process of studying for it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely meant a lot to have a good ACT score. An ACT score can get you a lot of places, get you into a good college. If I had any advice for people taking the ACT, I'd say study hard. Just look at the ACT books. I don't know if I have an exact secret. I just kind of went out there and did it, but studying will definitely help.
Let's start about talking about your journey. Can you share your journey in sports to like how it all began to where you are today, and any pivotal moments that shaped you along the way?
As a kid, I kind of played every sport that I could. Played basketball, football, baseball, soccer. Those were like my main four. But I mean, at times I was even playing tennis or volleyball or doing swimming. Yeah, growing up, the three main ones for me were basketball, baseball, and soccer. But then in fourth grade, I decided to quit soccer and try football. Just because I love playing in the backyard. I thought it'd be fun. And I'm so glad that I made that decision now. So after that, I kind of was leaning towards baseball as my main sport. I thought I'd be a baseball player. But then in seventh grade, I fractured my shoulder playing baseball. So I had to sit out that whole season. And then over the summer, I was moving, so I couldn't join a team. So I didn't play in eighth grade either. And then I ended up just not playing in high school because it had been 2 years. And then it was just basketball and football from there.
What would be maybe a memorable moment in sports and high school? And it doesn't have to necessarily be high school. Just maybe a championship you won or something of that nature.
I remember some of the early ones, like sixth grade, we won the GCYO in football. That was a fun one. Yeah, our freshman team was good. Freshman basketball, we only lost 2 games. I had a great time on that team. And obviously, you talked about the Boyle County win. That was probably my favorite game of my sports career.
And being at Covington Catholic, what is your favorite part about the school? Maybe a club you're involved in, or maybe a class that you like, or maybe something neat about the campus that a lot of people don't know?
I'd say my favorite thing about the school is just the culture. I mean, we always talk about it's kind of cliche, but everyone talks about the brotherhood at Cov Cath. But I feel like it's true. I feel like everyone there has got your back, all the teachers and the coaches and all of your friends. And with that, I feel like tradition's a big thing. Like the Braveheart tradition when we played Beechwood. I don't know if you've heard of that. But all the kids paint their bodies like Braveheart, and they march down to the field. I think that's a really cool thing. I only got to participate my freshman year, but like even just seeing them in the stands is really cool.
Oh, okay, so that's something that's part of their well-known student section then.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah, I remember that. Going to some games, and they got sure have a great student section. And let's talk a little bit about that, actually. Just what that's like playing at home. I mean, that's got to be a jolt of momentum, having that kind of a student section behind you.
Oh, yeah. Those big games when we get a lot of student body to come out, I think we feed off of them, and like our momentum and energy just gets multiplied. Like if we go on a run and they're getting hyped, it gets us all energized and we play better. And I feel like people probably don't realize how much like an impact they can actually have, but that momentum's really a big thing in a game.
And what's something you feel like with Coach Thelen, his first season there at Covington Catholic, what is something you feel like you've learned from him so far?
I think something I've learned that he kind of emphasizes a lot is selflessness. Like we have a thought for the day on every practice script, and one that keeps like recurring is I think it's amazing what we can accomplish when no one cares who gets the credit. I think it couldn't be more true. I feel like if you have a selfless team who really buys into their role, I think that's what makes a great team. That's what he tries to get us to do so we can be successful.
Losing a lot last year in football, you had a team that came back, and this was a different kind of Covington Catholic team from anyone I've ever seen. A lot of wing T concepts I felt like utilized in the offense. A lot more running. You guys could throw, of course, but didn't throw as often. Talk about coming back this year, just given what you lost from the prior year. What was the mindset of the team coming into the season?
We had a huge senior class the year prior. I think we lost 24 seniors, and we only had 14 this year. So I think a big thing with our team is we had defined an identity. That obviously took us a minute because we dropped the first 2 games of the season. And we really didn't know what kind of offense we'd be. And I feel like we learned that Cash and Dylan were our guys. And that's why we were mainly a running team. Even though they're just juniors, they stepped up and they acted like seniors and they led us. I think those losses from the previous years, like in state, that motivated us. Like we had a saying, our saying was finish it, because we couldn't win state the previous year and we wanted to finish that goal. So that was like our motivation in the off season and throughout the season. So we definitely use those losses to shape us.
You know, this team will forever be known, of course, one of the great Covington Catholic teams. But that Boyle County game, almost everyone had written you off coming into that. Talk about coming back, because they lost 9 seniors from that state championship team. They're going to have a phenomenal team coming back. You guys come into that game. Give me a walkthrough of that, the week, the game, and just what that was like.
I think we knew going into the season, going into that week, that nobody really believed in us. Because I feel like even in school, like we'd be talking to our friends and they're like, "You guys can try, but I don't think you guys really got it." Like we know what happened last year, and I think if I remember, only like 6 or 7 kids even came to the game. So like what we kept saying all week is that all we needed was ourselves. Like we just need to believe in ourselves. Everyone on our team had a chip on their shoulder from the last year. I think if you asked anybody else on the team, they would know exactly what the score was of that state championship game. It's staying in our mind for like a whole year, and we just keep remembering that. The day of the game, I remember we got there. It was cold and rainy, kind of miserable. And I remember them playing over the speakers audio from the state championship game that we lost. I think that was even more motivation. On the sideline that game, I think our team was more locked in than any team I've ever seen. Everyone was buying into their role, and they did it to perfection. That's the only way we could have won.
Let's talk a little bit about your position in football. You had almost 100 tackles this year, had 3 picks, 2 fumble recoveries, a couple fumbles forced. You made your name known on the defensive end especially. Talk about that and just what you feel like has been a big factor for you in the success you've had.
I don't think I could have done it without the coaching staff that we had. Going into my sophomore year, I was still a small little 180-pound sophomore. Didn't really know much about my position. Coach Brown and the rest of the coaching staff, especially Coach Brown and the linebacker coach, he taught me everything I needed to know. He taught me all the checks, where to be. And like a big thing in our defense is everyone does their job. While I was getting the stats, it wasn't just me out there. Everyone else was guarding their man, so the quarterback would throw towards me, or they were taking on blocks, so I would make the tackle.
And Coach Brown, yeah, definitely good to give him a shout out. Of course, Coach Evanston, that staff, a lot of success that they've had at Covington Catholic. Talk about to get to know you a little better. What's a cool fact about yourself? Something that maybe not a lot of people know.
I'd say something that some people know about me, but probably not a lot of people know this, is I grew up here, but in 6th grade I moved out to Montana with my family. In my 8th grade year, after that year, I decided I wanted to come back here for high school. Growing up, I'd always watched Cuff Cath. I dreamed of playing there, and my parents agreed, so they sent me back in the summer for summer football, and I lived with my grandpa for like a month and a half while they were still out in Montana, just going to football practice in the morning, just because I wanted to come to Cuff Cath.
That is pretty cool, man. Tell me about Montana, what it was like, something neat about living up there.
It's definitely a big difference. All the sports are still there, but everything's more spread out. Instead of driving down the road for a game, you're driving 2 hours just for one basketball game. I lived in a bigger city, but just the space in between the cities is just all spread out. People are more isolated. I don't know if it's for me. It's definitely beautiful out there, but I think I like it here more.
Last question for you, Tate. Are there any shout-outs you'd like to give?
Yeah, I'll shout out some of my senior football guys. Shout out Mason Dietz, Oliver Link. They're my guys on the football team.
Well, Tate, thank you so much for coming on. It's good to have you, and wishing you guys the very best this year. And I want to say thank you all for tuning in and listening to this edition of the Audio Spotlight. I'm Tyler Rowland. Thank you for listening. God bless you, and we'll see you soon.